So I'm going to use foot-pounds, old Drain Bolt 21, and the oil filter is 13 foot-pounds. So oil filter 13, engine oil Drain Bolt 21. And I have two torque wrenches. I'll use this one because it's small enough. I have a larger one for the big ticket items I use for front axle bolts and etc. Alright, so let's get the drain bolt torqued. We'll set the torque wrench. I'll go over that here in it shortly, and then we'll get it back together. Okay, I'm going to set the torque wrench. As you can see, if you can see, the center line 0 is lined up with the center line, and we need 21 foot-pounds for the drain plug. This is in inch-pounds, so 120 inch-pounds, 125 by 12, and it gives you 10 foot-pounds. So right now we're at the 120 mark, which is 10 foot-pounds. So this is 240 inch-pounds, which will give us 20 foot-pounds. So we're going to rotate this. These are the foot increments. So we're going to, the lock nuts loose. We're going to turn this until we get to the 0 on the center line. Okay, so now you see, it's hard to see chrome with the glare. One note is a trick I did is I filled the grooves in with liquid paper, white out. It showed, so you can see it a little bit. It gives a little bit of contrast. Anyway, so 0 is lined up, center line. We're at the 240, and then we're going to go one more because we're at 20 foot-pounds, and this will give us 21. So there it is. We're at 21 foot-pounds. You can see, and that's basically, we just converted inch-pounds to foot-pounds by dividing by 12, because 12 inches in a foot. So the 120 inch-pounds is equal to 10 foot-pounds. 120 divided by 12. 240 is equal to 20 foot-pounds. 240 divided by 12 is 20. And then the one increment. And so that one line in the center, covering up the 240 little hash. The other hash you're seeing is just the dog leg to point out the text, but you want the hash that's touching the center line. So I'll hold that there for a second. If I get some light on it, shadows are horrible. And that's it. And then we'll tighten the lock, the nut, and it's ready to go. Anyway, I raised the front and back so I can get under. And just a note, the manual says remove this fairing, but you don't have to. You can actually see the drain plug is accessible. If you're up high enough, you can get a socket and ratchet in there. And same thing with the oil filter. Reach the oil filter, get it off, back on. I've never had any trouble. Never taken the fairing off to do an oil change. So with that being said, we're going to start the job. Okay, one thing not mentioned is the oil drain bolt has a washer, and they call it a crush washer. Should be replaced every time you change your oil. It's basically the seal, access seal. The term crush, it gets crushed with the torque to create the airtight seal, so it doesn't leak. So you can order those online through the dealer, stockpile a few of them, so every time you do your oil change, you'll have them handy. Okay, this is the part, if you want to watch, you can. I'll separate the videos, just, go over the details, but this is the obvious part where we're just going to do the actual work. And so, there we go. Of course, there's a little bit of an angle, but the torque's not that much, or you can use a 3/8 drive and extension. As you can see, the cutouts here, so there's plenty of room to get to the bolt all the way out to here, and the bolt is loose. So real quick, like I said, this part, sometimes I like to see the work, sometimes you already know what you got to do, and then we let it drain and set that there. Alright, while the oil's still draining, I want to show you the crush washer. You can see the and then when it's purchased, it's flat on both sides. As you can see, you'll get it, and it does crush under the torque to create a seal between the bolt and the casing, or the washer and then the casing. So I haven't had any problems. I've actually used the same one a couple of times, different oil changes, because I forgot to order more. I put it back on, I haven't had any leaks. So right now we're gonna let this finish draining, wipe it clean, and then remove the oil filter. We just want to show the washer. Anyway, we're dripping, the oil filter's loose, so I'm gonna go ahead and take it off the rest of the way, let it drop, and then let that drain. And then we'll get to putting it back together. Back to the torque wrench. We got the bolt, crush washer. Filter's not on yet, so I have room to clear with the ratchet, and it's not going to hit the threads or anything of the oil filter. 17mm per the book, 21 foot-pounds. This is in inch-pounds, so it's 240 plus the 1 mark gives us 240 divided by 12 gives you the 20 foot-pounds, plus the 1 incremental mark gives us 21. So which I showed previous video. Alright, so another important part of the torque wrench, you want to do it all in one motion. You don't want to do it, tighten it, and then come back, start it. Well, you want the bolt hand, as tight as you can get it hand. But in other words, you want the click, once you start your main torque, you want it to click on the same motion, but we can actually make it snug. But now here, alright, start as high up as I can. I'm going to hold this on, and basically you can just apply pressure and you'll feel it click. There we go. That was 21 foot-pounds of torque applied to that bolt. Want to double check it? There, see, now it clicks. It didn't turn, so I had a hand tight, and I just snugged a little bit, but then started the motion. You want one motion and keep going till you get that click and it bounces back. Alright, drain bolt is now torqued to the specs, and we will add put the filter on, the new filter, KN303 is what I order. And I guess I should have took all this off, so I'm not going to bore you with the me unwrapping the filter. Okay, now time to put the new filter on. They recommend you always just coat that with a little bit of oil. You can just use some of the old oil just to get the gasket lubricated, and we will spin this on. Torque wrench has already been preset. 13 foot-pounds for the oil filter. And I like the one that's got the nuts, because in the past, if it doesn't have that, just use a filter wrench or something and guess at it. So let's see if we're on. I'm going to hold it on, and then we're going to, well, it's going to, we're going to turn it until we get to the point where we can hit the torque limit. There we go. Seemed like it's a lot, but it's pretty loose. And 13 foot-pounds. Using a torque wrench set for inch-pounds, which just do the conversion. And it'll say that in the instructions too, or you YouTube it. Anyway, now we've drained the oil, replaced the filter, torque the drain bolt back on, and they recommend replacing the crush washer. I did not, don't have one, don't want to wait. I'm going to ride it, but I'm going to order a new drain bolt. It's a good idea to have spares. That way you can see it's starting to round off on the bolt a little bit, so eventually you want to replace that so you don't have to deal with it when it finally strips. And new filter, both torqued. We will put oil in it, and then we'll get started up, let it circulate, run, let it settle, and then we'll check it again and make sure we have the right amount. Again,